losers. A bunch of losers. That is who the New York Jets are. The Jets suck. That's my deep, thoughtful analysis. How about that? Every week, they throw up on themselves and figure out new ways to lose. The opener, Monday night game against San Francisco, they got run over by a backup running back making his first ever start. The Steelers game, Russell Wilson started off looking like a meme. He was terrible. Then the Jets lost by 20 plus. In the second Patriots game, they give up the game-winning score to one of the worst offenses in football. In a game, by the way, where they burned all 3 timeouts on the opening drive. The Cardinals game, they just completely mailed it in. They got boat raced. Never had a chance. And then before the bye, they allow inaccurate Anthony Richardson to drive right down the field on them, and it results in another loss. This season is a joke. What a disaster of a situation. You fire the head coach. You trade for Devontae Adams. You trade away Mike Williams. Then you fire the general manager. And then against Seattle a couple of weeks ago, the Jets scored 21 points in the first 24 minutes of the game. It looked like, Aaron Rodgers was playing with a different energy. The Jets' offense was clicking. It just, for a moment, a brief moment, it gave you the idea that, well, you know what, maybe the Jets won't make the playoffs, but if this is the energy they are going to play with down the stretch, it gives you some positive vibes. It gives you some encouragement heading into the offseason. And then against the Seahawks, which they were not expected to beat anyway, but you look at that game and you go, the way that starts, how do you not win the game? They not only lose, they fail to score a single point for the remainder of that game. And that's emblematic of the 2024 New York Jets. I bet some of you tricked yourselves into thinking they were going to beat the Dolphins on Sunday. They were up by 8 in the fourth quarter. And I can only assume, and if it sounds like I'm talking shit on the Jets, it's because I am. I can only assume with the win probabilities that ESPN does, because I looked this up after the fact. It was clear that even, and I don't have proof of this, so I have to admit, hey, if I had my laptop and could have posted this at the time, then I'd be proven right. But otherwise, you just kind of have to go off of what I'm saying here. So fair game to say you never claimed that. As soon as the Jets were up by 8 points, I think it was 23-15, I'm watching that game, and I say to my friend at the time, there's no way the Jets are going to win this game. I don't know how it's going to manifest itself, right? I don't know if, maybe the Dolphins kick a field goal, then they score a touchdown, or, they score a touchdown, tie it up, then they, win a game with a field goal at the gun. There was at no time when the Jets were up by 8 points, which, when you think about it, If you have to score a touchdown and successfully convert a 2-point conversion just to tie a game, the team that is leading by 8 points is in the driver's seat by a wide margin. And I looked this up, and ESPN had the win probability at 82% for the Jets at the start of the fourth quarter of the game on Sunday. The Dolphins end up late in the fourth quarter, scoring a touchdown, getting the 2-point conversion, which tied the game. And then there was still plenty of time for the Jets to orchestrate their own game-winning drive. And I have not listened to all of the, especially like the Jets-centric pods and the radio shows. I can only imagine that they dove into this, so I'm not going to exhaust it on here. But as I'm watching that game, I have no understanding, no grasp of the way that thing played out. Because look, the Jets end up kicking a field goal with, I think it was 50 some odd seconds left. What I don't understand is why were the New York Jets not in a position of either we're going to kick a long field goal as time expires and win the game, or we're going to miss the field goal and we're going to go to overtime. And then I thought, well, it's because it's the Jets, and they are losers. And this is why I talk shit on the Jets. With 44 seconds in regulation, the New York Jets, once again, I mentioned they had an 82% win probability when they were up 8 entering the fourth quarter. They once again had an 82% win probability when they were up by a field goal with 44 seconds remaining. And this is why I talk shit on the Jets as an organization. Because they are a dumpster fire. They are, to quote the great philosophers in The Sandlot, a bunch of L7 weenies. You know, if I didn't watch the games myself, I would have never believed you if you told me the Jets made 2 straight AFC Championship games back in the 2009, 2010, and 2010, 2011 seasons. They have been awful since Woody Johnson bought the team. He bought the team prior to the 2000 season, which makes this season number 25. And I am not going to detract from this episode and go off on a tangent as to what I think of the years that Wood Johnson was not, quote unquote, technically involved with the team, because that will just lead to a bunch of discussions that get us off topic here. This is season number 25. The Jets have made the playoffs a grand total of 6 times. They are not going to the postseason this year, which is to say, less than 25% of the seasons that Wood has owned the team, they have been eligible for the postseason. And this will now be the 15th straight season which they do not qualify for the playoffs. I said this back in summer. It was either in one of our July or August episodes. At the time, my open-ended question was, what happens if 2024 gets off to a rocky start for the Jets? Which clearly it did. And now we are just so far beyond that. My point at the time was, if the Jets move on from Robert Saleh which they then did after the London game. Remember, they lost to the Vikings across the pond. What would that mean for the franchise moving forward? Are you going to let Aaron Rodgers be a part of the head coach selection process, which Rodgers will not be around for on the back half of whoever they choose, right? Whoever they pick as their head coach, whatever his contract is. Given how this year has gone, not only is that out of the question, Rodgers himself has been terrible. And here's how this is going to work. The new general manager will pick the new head coach. Not the going on 41-year-old quarterback who is a shell of his former self. Not to mention, and I know that depending on the outlet that you get your information from or the follow-up to this that you've read into, there's reason to believe the owner, as shitty as he is, and as much as he's run the team into the ground, he's not a big fan of Aaron Rodgers. Here are the terms the Jets will make clear. Aaron, the new general manager, and the new head coach are going to be here long after you. We will pick who we pick. You will make it work if you are lucky enough to still be here in 2025 and potentially beyond. From the very start of this, it has been a circus, a complete imbalance of power. And the Jets have no one to blame but themselves. I will say this. The Jets, along with several other teams in the NFL, you could put the Cleveland Browns in this category. The Giants, I would also put up there. The Detroit Lions, although they have clearly turned things around over these past few seasons. Those fan bases are among the most committed, the most intense, the most supportive of their teams. And we will go in many more times on the Giants. One thing I want to make very clear here is I don't give a shit who you want to talk about or think about as, oh, they're human beings, give them a break. Nope. That's what the money's for. And so as much as I've shit on the Giants, I will continue to do so until they make changes in their organization. And same goes for these other loser orgs, like the Browns and like the Jets. The thing that I think is a shame and who should not lose in this equation but are on the short end of the stick here are the fans. The Jets have some of the most supportive fans in all of football, especially when you look at their body of work as a franchise. We're going on nearly 50 years since they won that Super Bowl in the famous Joe Namath guarantee game. And they've given their fans little to nothing to be proud about or be encouraged about. And I don't see this Aaron Rodgers situation playing out any differently. So I would say Jets fans, hey, make a change at quarterback, make changes in the front office and at the head coaching position, and you'll have a new lease. The reality is the ownership has demonstrated for a quarter century now, they do not know what they are doing. And so regardless of the general manager they bring in, the head coach, the general manager ultimately hires, whatever they end up doing at quarterback, until we see an ownership change with the New York Jets, they will continue to be losers.